Good morning. Good afternoon. Hello, Carrie. How are you?
It's not morning.
Oh, it's afternoon for you. So you're a time traveler. Are you from the future?
That's right. You want to know what's going on at 1 o'clock?
It's like, what do I have to look forward to in the next 3 hours?
Good stuff. Good stuff.
All right. Well, welcome to another Workshop Wednesday brought to you by schoolofbookkeeping.com. This is part 3 of our series with our friends over at Corpay. And playing Carlos and Justin today is Eric Harris Poindexter. He's our friend over there, and we're gonna be kind of unpacking the whole idea of working with an accountant when it comes to bill payment and expense management, and kind of tying this all together of what we had talked about with Carlos, where it's digitizing your back office, and then we talked about with Justin of how you can automate your bill payment, and then with Eric, we'll be talking about the working with an accountant. And Carrie, you're very skilled and knowledgeable in this in this aspect. And we were talking a little bit before we went live. I mean, you look at the marketing pages for Intuit QuickBooks, or or the advertisements in the Super Bowl, and it looks like small business owners can handle this all themselves, right? I mean, that's the allure of.
I sure wish that was true. I'd have so much more time to do fun things.
Right? There's a whole industry. There's a whole industry for people that have tried, right, to do this themselves. Erica, what have you seen on the bill payment side? Where that has been. I don't know. I can't formulate the question,
People
but
have gotten themselves into trouble.
Yeah. No, we're I was gonna say we're actually kind of part of the problem here with our solution, right? and try to provide something that's easy to use for the business owners. But you're exactly right. We're between us, systems like QuickBooks Online and others, while we are intended to sort of make it easier, it's not necessarily to eliminate the role of the accountant and bookkeeper, right? It's just to make some of those things easier to understand, easier to use for the common user, but not to eliminate that role at all. So I'm definitely excited to talk more about this here today, and sort of what we're seeing on Corpay One side of things, some of the trends, but also how our software in particular allows you to work with accountants and bookkeepers a lot easier compared to some of the traditional methods.
No, what have you seen? Like, do you typically talk to small business owners or accountants, or both? And how do you bridge the gap?
Yeah.
Or change your conversation depending on whether you're talking to a small business owner or an accountant.
Yeah, that's a great question. So now I say I primarily work more so with accountants and bookkeepers. However, I do still interact and sometimes work directly with their clients or just business owners of larger companies, right? So you hit on a key point there, which is having those different conversations and understanding what's valuable to each of them, right? So a lot of times when you're speaking with the accountant, they're more so concerned with things like security, with the ability to scale. How long will your company be around? Can they grow with your company? The accuracy of the data, right? Things like that versus On the business owner side, they're more so just focused on, hey, can this save me time? Right? Can this save me money compared to what I'm doing currently? And a lot of times that's pretty much their bottom line, right? Like a lot of the other things are sort of nice to haves for them, but they're primarily just looking to save time, save money so that they can spend more of that on their actual business and the things that they love.
Right, because we had talked about that with Carlos, where he was spending his Saturday mornings, with these non-value adds to the business, but they're required, right? Like
Yep.
sales tax is one of those things. You gotta do that. Carrie did that yesterday. You had to go to the South Carolina website and put in
Click,
that we
click,
didn't sell
click.
anything to
Yeah.
South Carolina. Uh, that was. I mean, it was something that she had to do, but it really it was busy work, right? I mean, it's busy work for the business owner. But if she didn't do that, lo and behold, a couple months later,
You get
Yep.
she'll get a nice notice
a
Yep.
for not doing
penalties.
that. And
It'll
same
cost me
thing,
money not to do it.
yeah, yeah. And then same thing happens if you don't pay your bills.
Yep.
Uh, you got to do these things. You got to spend that Saturday. But now what we're finding is that with tools like Corpay and some of the functions and advancements that are in QuickBooks, some of that stuff can be automated, right?
Yep.
And that's all part of this digital transformation or digitizing your back office, um, with regards to that. Now, how does an accountant fit into to that equation? Because well, let's just start there. And I had another thought that we might talk about. But how does an accountant fit into the? Okay, well, how can I help you digitize your back office, or what role do they play in the
Yeah.
mix?
Yeah. So for us, I think for me, the most common thing I hear a lot of times we touched on earlier is just most business owners a lot of times just feel that they can do it themselves or they can just have an employee do it, right? They don't really see it as being that difficult. They most times will acknowledge it takes up time, but they don't really see it being a very difficult thing or something that requires expertise per se. Um, and for us, what we tend to tell them is, hey, number one, you can just save your time and energy and sanity, quite frankly, in doing things that you actually value for your business, right? So you're able to generate typically more revenue for the business in that manner. You're also able to stay up to date with all the different tax laws, the different rules, regulations, things that are changing. Because at the end of the day, you're not an expert. Like we tend to see things like this that we're doing now, right? Webinars and conferences where accountants and bookkeepers are constantly staying up to date with new laws and regulations that a business owner probably isn't. um, and then just particularly with a lot of the things going on now, the ability to help manage risk, right? Managing risk, fraud, having that sort of third party objective, independent person to look at everything and provide you with that opinion. I remember actually prior to even working in this space, I used to work in sort of the financial lending space. And, we required all the legal documentations and things like that from a business owner. But we had a guy one time where essentially his best friend for like a number of years was like defrauding him or
Oh
attempting.
Oh,
boy.
Yeah, and from my perspective, it was, like, crazy because 'cause I'm like, "Well, how does this guy have access to all these things?" But again, it
hmm
was literally his best friend for years. He worked in the office with him. It was like a fancy restaurant out of New York, and the guy was able to access everything, like P&L, bank statements, tax returns, and we pretty much got that loan to almost the final line before the actual business owner realized it and ended up saving himself about $150,000 and, bad
wow.
debt there. So yeah, a lot of key reasons here, to work with an accountant. But some of the other things I wanted to touch on were just some of the things that are kind of outside the norm that maybe the business owner doesn't think about as much. And one of them is just having access to things like this, right? Partner programs, things like CBG resources, things like discounts, right? Special discounts on QBO, on Corpay One, all these different apps that you may not necessarily get if you were just to go to them directly, right? With your
hmm
with your business. And lastly, I'd say just, for example, with the whole SVB thing, we had a lot of our partners coming to us very proactively, right? Say, hey, what do I need to do? How can my clients get their payments through? Is this going to affect this, et cetera? And just having someone to do that for you in those types of times, I think is very important and valuable as well.
Hmm. I remember when I was working at Intuit, when we first started, it was we did not have a toll-free number. And people would call in and wait for, especially in busy season, which was this January, first month of January, they would wait on hold for
Hmm.
2 hours to talk to someone like myself. And then the question would be, okay, I have a dime discrepancy when I'm reconciling my bank account. I'm like, you realize you spent that in toll charges,
Yep.
um,
Wow.
you know, in the first minute,
Hmm.
of you waiting on hold. And I finally asked somebody, like, hey, we're just dealing with a penny. You can flub it, right? You can make an adjustment, and QuickBooks does these things. And he's like, no, no, no. I mean, this is my baby, right? Like, my business is my baby. Today it's a dime, but
Hmm.
tomorrow it could be 10 grand,
Yep.
right? And if I don't understand the process about how this stuff works, then it certainly could be $10,000, and I don't know, right?
Yep.
But now I understand how I can find these things and do those things. So kudos to him. Kudos to the business owners that really have that kind of um, understanding of the ebbs and flows of their business. And then there's certain things that you know those business owners are going to be um, that's important to the business owner, that's not necessarily
Exactly.
important to the accountant.
Yep.
But the accountant will help, by working with them. They'll be able to you know have a deeper discussion based off of the direction that the business owner wants to go with the business. And they'll be able to get that information out of their financials, right? And
Yep.
that's the whole idea of the trusted advisor, right, Carrie? So
Exactly.
that's what we're trying to that's where the industry is trying to head, right?
And I think also to add on to what both of you are saying is when you add an accountant, you have another set of eyes that might be able to pick up on some of those invoices have terms.
Mm.
And you could, if you do net 10 days, some people are like, I don't want to do that, but the accountant could actually help, go over your cash flow to see if you can afford it
Yep.
and make that money by paying it early. So I think those are, and with the new tools that we have today, you can go ahead and enter the bill and date it in the future and schedule it to pay. Those are
Hmm.
things you couldn't do before. You had to write checks and hold on to them and, put them in the mail and do, post date them or whatever tricks people did to keep it from doing something wrong. And, these days I don't want to put anything in the mail. I like doing ACH. I don't want to go to the bank. I don't want to send someone to the bank. So um, I think the accountants can really help a business owner ultimately save money that they may not have known. They may not even have understood what those terms meant.
Yeah. Definitely.
So let's talk about a little bit about, let's kind of put it all together. And Eric, if you wouldn't mind sharing your screen,
Yeah.
if you have a way, pull back the curtain, and what
Yeah. Yeah.
does Corpay actually look like, and how does it, you know help with this whole idea of digitizing your back office, whether it's for you as a business, whether it's for you as a business owner, or if you're an accountant, working with clients.
Yeah. Definitely. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Can you guys see that now?
Not yet. I just turned it on there for us. Is there a delay? Do you see it, Carrie?
I see it. It's blurry though, but I see it. I see Bill Pay. Like,
Oh, we
uh-oh.
lost. We lost
Lost
Eric.
our guest. Oh no, bring him back in. He fell off the boat.
Yeah.
There he
You're a
is.
life,
I'm back.
you're a
I'm
life
back.
preserver. Okay.
Sorry about that. All
That's okay.
right, let's see.
This is the penalty of doing all this live.
Let's see if
Always a new day.
Right. It's still blurry. I don't understand why it's you see the same thing, Carrie?
It's blurry for me too.
let me see something here.
Now maybe Eric didn't pay his internet bill.
Yeah, right. Um,
Is it blurred out because of because of sensitive information? Maybe.
no, we want to share this information. Absolutely. Let me try this one more time. Window.
No worries. I mean, if it's blurry, it's blurry, right? I mean, we get the idea.
Yeah, no.
And oh, that's black. That's really blurry. Yeah, it looks like and Landon, our assistant, keeps getting his browser crash. So maybe it's a it's a global thing.
Crazy internet day.
Yeah, I don't know. Can you
But
guys
for
still hear
once,
me?
it's not me.
Oh, now we can hear you. Now we can hear you.
Okay.
Were frozen for a minute.
Yeah, I don't know why I have it up and it looks good on my side, but for whatever reason, when I go to share, it doesn't come up. But what I can do is I'll
Typical.
sort of just talk through those
Okay.
points if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay. So for us, at Corpay One, in terms of how we work with accountants and their clients and sort of the benefits and how we bridge that gap, if you will. The first thing is, number one, from an accountant's perspective, we're going to give you a centralized dashboard, right? So today, typically what we find is that an accountant who's working with multiple clients, they basically have to manage a number of different bank logins, typically to be able to manage the bill pay and getting things done. For our system, we give you that one centralized dashboard where you'll have all your clients set up with that one login, but also with controls around each client in terms of privileges and who can access these different things. Um, Once you're actually inside of the platform, just in terms of what we do, I'd say that's different compared to your typical process. If we're looking at a typical sort of bookkeeping and bill pay process, a lot of times the client, number one, has some sort of manual way of collecting that information and then getting it to their accountant or into their accounting software. We've heard everything from, hey, one person just picks it up and drops it off to another office. Sometimes the accountant just works in that business's office, a couple of times throughout the week. Or some are a little bit more efficient in terms of they may be able to email things over and things like that. But either way, they're not as efficient as a platform that gives you digital methods to be able to capture your bills and receipts. So I think Justin talked about this last week in terms of capturing bills and receipts with the mobile app, for example, which is pretty useful while you're on the go, particularly for business owners and their employees who tend to spend things on their own, capturing those things. And then once we do actually capture the bills, one of the key things that really a lot of people, both on the accounting side and clients, love about Corpay One compared to other solutions is the ability to create these custom approval processes, right? So a lot of times when it comes to getting bills approved or even getting checks signed, that can be a pretty tedious process for a lot of business owners, depending on how many people are involved, and even more so where those people are located at, right? Like again, we hear people who have to go office to office to get checks signed or to get things approved before they can actually get these bills paid. It can lead to things being kind of untimely there. So we allow you to create these custom multi-level workflows that can be based around anything from a certain dollar amount or a certain vendor. These different things can be customized to trigger a custom approval process between the client, aka the business owner, along with his accountant, his bookkeeper, or even executives who need to be included into that process.
So those and those are some of the differentiators between your platform and others that we've seen. is the ability to add some of these uh, automated workflows for for one or several people. And we kind of talked a little bit about this yesterday. That especially for like a nonprofit,
Yeah.
where there's several checks and balances when it comes to that. Because they have structure in place, they have high turnovers and
Yep.
things like that, and they this person needs to, there's a buddy system,
Mhm.
right? And that way, you don't have that situation where someone is turns out they're embezzling
Yep.
from their best friend or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So you have those things in there, and that's not currently available in QuickBooks Online to be able to have those multiple step workflows,
Yep.
um, and those types of things, and then having everything in one place
Yeah.
for one. That now is kind of like your expense management hub, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. Because for us, we're primarily on the bill pay side of things, but we also do allow your clients to have a Corpay One Mastercard as well, if they are able to apply and get approved for that, so they can manage both their company credit card expenses and their bookkeeping and bill pay in that same platform as well. And again, this just goes back to the value of working with an accountant and just knowing about these
Mhm.
different things and knowing what's out there, particularly with accountants who specialize in certain niches. Like we have some accountants, we have one called nonprofit bookkeeping, right? So he clearly specializes in working with nonprofits and can go to a new nonprofit and say, "Hey, I've actually implemented this same process with, five other companies just like yours. This is what we found to work best, right? Having the approvals go this way and through this process, et cetera." So it's definitely a huge value there as well.
So with regards to the Corpay One dashboard, it's almost like it's a one size fits all, for anything that has to deal with money leaving the business, right? Which is a huge part of the profit and loss, right? You
Yep.
want to minimize the you want to minimize the loss part, money outgo, type of thing. We did talk about payroll and those kinds of fundamental things,
Yep.
but the things that are definitely within your control of, I like to think of it in terms of calories. If you're trying to lose weight, it's you either burn more calories by exercising, or you consume less by eating less. And
Hmm.
that the expense management side of things is really the eating less calories, because your money is your calories.
Yeah.
You'll only have a limited amount of that,
Yep.
unless you have an open line of credit, I guess, which I guess that would be a
Which
buffet.
which
Yeah.
could get you in trouble without good management.
Um, but no, yeah, this is that's what we do, and overall we try to provide just better visibility and control between the business owner, the accountants, the bookkeepers, or any executives that need access. And one of the key things is being able to access everything remotely, right? So no matter
Mhm.
where you're at, whether you're in the office, on vacation, taking a business trip. We've even had stories where people have, our company cards, and someone needs a increase on their card, at a certain event, for example, and they can call the business owner and get that changed literally within seconds. Or an employee leaves and they need to, cut off a card before anything can happen, and they can do that within seconds versus, Dan, you mentioned before people having to call in and wait an hour or two to get a lot of these things done with your traditional,
Mhm.
banks and a lot of other organizations. So um, that's sort of what we do, and the value that we provide, on the accountant and client side of things.
All right. Well, if you want a high resolution demo, which is not today, uh, I put a little QR code there in the upper corner there, so you can just kind of point your phone at it. It'll actually take you right to Eric's calendar, which and then you can book some time to actually see the platform and see all the things that that we've been talking about over the past 3 weeks, with regards to using Corpay as one of those tools in your accountant toolbox, right? You've got your tool belt, like I'm gonna digitize my back office. That's right here with the hammer. Um, but using the right tools, right? I mean, this is not this is not something for receiving money, right? So you got to use the hammer for the hammer and the saw for the saw. But you can just kind of point your camera at the whatever you happen to be watching this on, and it'll take you right to Eric's calendar to book that demo for Corpay One. So, Eric, I appreciate you joining us, and even though we lost you there for a second, we brought you back.
I made it back. But no,
any thoughts, final thoughts before we close out the workshop today?
No, I was just going to say I really appreciate the time again, just being able to talk about our experiences of working with accountants and clients, how those conversations can differ in terms of values, and just how we're able to provide value to both of those groups with our platform. So hopefully, pretty soon we'll be able to show the team here and the rest of the partners exactly what we can do in an actual demo, but we'll one step at a time.
Right, exactly.
You schedule a demo with Eric so you can see it yourself. Two-way synchronization. It's worth spending a few minutes to do that demo.
Yeah, that was on purpose. We just wanted to dangle the carrot a little bit.
Yeah.
So, imagine, if you will, what this awesome dashboard looks like. But thanks for joining us. And now next week, we're actually going to take a little spring break. So we'll take we'll skip over next week for the workshop Wednesday, and then we'll pick it up after April Fool's Day. No fooling. But the first week of April is when we'll pick up again with the workshop Wednesday. I hope you can join us, and we'll see you next time.
Have a great week. Have a great 2 weeks.
Thank you again.
Thanks.